Hey everyone, welcome to Collective Code. We are here again with everyone, with Heather, Katrina, Corey, Sarah, Trevor, and myself, Miss Travis. Today we're just going to be talking about all the shitstorm that's going on right now. We try to be structured, but in this time we just can't do it. So we're just going to run with it today because there's a lot to talk about. And I just want to start with the ridiculousness with Pete Hegseth and the irresponsibility and incompetency with that secretary. So I just can't, they say one thing and they do, they're so hypocritical. We had the instance with, Hillary Clinton and the emails that, they just dreamed her about. And now we're at a point where you have someone who's, releasing this top secret information, being careless. And it almost makes me wonder, was Pete drunk? That's, I'm serious though. You can't help but laugh. It's like totally okay. But it's ridiculous how, even for instance, the burning up of the Tesla cars, and then the January 6th, incident, like they are so oblivious. They're just so like incompetent and like stupid. And I hate using that word. I know there's probably a better word than that, but I cannot describe it. But it's a hypocrisy. Like, what is going on? And I told you guys earlier, like, sorry, I have a lot on my mind, but I feel like, the more shit that comes out every day, I feel like things are done on purpose, out of retaliation. And I don't even think it is towards, his political enemies, if you will. But I think it's almost like vengeance against the country. Like, let me fuck up the economy. Let me do this. Let me tear up Social Security. Let me, deport all of the, the immigrants, whether they're here on a visa or they're here legally and they've gone through all the channels. Of course, I believe in, criminals and being taken away. Fine. But, there's a lot. So what do you guys think? You can take on any part of that you want to.
I'm just going to jump in on the Pete Hegseth stuff real quick. And the extent to which they're minimizing it is insane. The way that they are comparing it to, I forgot who said it, but they were comparing it to like a group chat and, you accidentally add your aunt and all of a sudden your aunt is like getting the details of your spicy love life or something like that. So just the way that they're downplaying it, like it was no big deal, just oops. And then going back to what you said about Hillary, the email, that wasn't even classified information. And they were in an uproar about it. And then now here we have highly classified information and it's just, whoops.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it goes back. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it just goes back to a previous conversation we had where the rules are always different, right? So with Hillary, it was like, oh no, her emails, and to your point, Heather, this being highly classified, and just the denial too. Again, I think for me, the most frustrating aspect of this whole situation is how insulting it is to people's intelligence. Like them asking Tulsi Gabbard, like, okay, were you on this thread? And her just blatantly denying even an actual response, a real response. It's like, what are you doing? Like, like if you don't want to respond, fine, plead the fifth, whatever. Do something sensible rather than just these. It sounds idiotic. I'm sorry. I don't normally use this language either, but it does. It just is ridiculous that we're having to sit here and listen to these people talk and speak in circles without actually giving any information and not outright denying it, not outright accepting it. But even in this conversation that I was hearing where they were asking Trump these questions about the incident, he recanted and denied, and it was like he was saying different things within minutes of them asking him the questions about what happened and him saying, oh, I don't know what happened. But then he had this whole story about how he's like, oh yeah, this technology or app, whatever you want to call it, this thing happened, but I've never heard of it before. But he also had the whole storyline ready to go. Like, okay, you've been prepped, like you've been briefed on it, you have the whole spiel. So again, just stop. It's
And he even minimized it because I only saw a little clip of it, but I think he said something to the effect of it didn't really matter because the attacks went on as planned and everything was executed flawlessly. So basically no harm, no foul.
Exactly.
And
which is maddening because it's still highly classified. And I mean, I just think not Pete. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking the name of the journalist, right? So he had integrity, right? So he still redacted it, but then of course shared whatever some part of the information that he could. But even with that, he's not being credited for his integrity in such a complex situation that could have blown up and gone horribly, horribly wrong had he not been a person of integrity. I feel like that's being completely overlooked as well. Because had that information gotten into the wrong person's hands, that could have been just catastrophic, absolutely catastrophic. So the fact that that's not even a consideration is also shocking. And it just feels like every day it's just smoke and mirrors, more distraction from things that are happening on the side that they don't want us to pay attention to. And something blows up somewhere else where everyone's distracted.
Yeah, and Caroline even attacked the reporter, like kind of putting the blame on him that he opened his mouth.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Well, and them saying like they don't even know who he is. It's like, again, extremely insulting to people's intelligence. Someone randomly can't magically add themselves to a conversation thread unless and until someone on the thread has that person in their phone contact and adds them to that thread. I mean, just ludicrous.
The AI must have misunderstood me. You saying, Sean?
I wasn't saying anything, but I am now. I was watching Brian Tyler Cohen earlier, and he had a guest on whose name I cannot remember at this particular moment. But he was talking about how one of the people in that thread was Steve Witkoff, and he was in Russia during that time. And the speaker, his guest was basically saying he wouldn't be surprised, if the Russians were trying to obviously tap his communications at that time. So who has access to those threads now? And are there more threads?
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Well, Trump already shares everything with Putin, so that's not way. But the one thing, I've been so busy trying to start my real job. But the one thing I heard was that I was like, I was hopeful, or not hopeful. I was happy to hear that maybe I'm wrong, but wasn't there something about Vance questioning, doubting Trump or something in there? Okay. So, because I'm like, we need more of this. Honestly, we need people to see none of these people believe in him like you MAGA base people do. They're just playing the game.
Can you share a little more about that, Corey?
Like I said, I briefly, I just glanced. I mean, I'll be happy to find something. And I mean, again, I heard it on one of it wasn't the Young Turks, but Katrina, Damage Report with John Adirola. It was on his show.
The way I understood it was that he questioned, like, I don't think that the president knows about this, something to the effect of that. And then he just pretty much said it's not a good idea.
It's a crack in that.
It is.
It's a crack in the oh, we all bow to master dictator, yes, sir, right away, sir, no questions asked, It's a tiny sliver of like, these people are just going along for the ride. Vance is just waiting for his turn, and so I hope there's more of this. I don't want our national security getting compromised, but let's be fair, clear, it already is. So,
I've got the text where he's criticizing the president.
say it again.
I have the text where he's criticizing the president.
Go. All you.
Yeah, so March 14th, Friday, March 14th. I'm not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I'm willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns to myself, but there's a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc.
You said March 14th?
Yeah, Friday, March 14th.
11 days ago? I thought this just happened.
The Houthi attack?
Yeah. Or
Time
the
flies.
discussion of the,
Who knows?
Well, no, it was right before they did the Houthi attack. That's this email thread, and they, the journalist has kept it to himself until time, basically, because I guess they still didn't know that they were leaked.
Oh, so the journalist knew 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And it's just now coming out that he knew 2 weeks ago.
11 days ago. Yeah.
Okay. That was the integrity thing. He didn't put it out for national security reasons, and then it happened. And he was like, okay, well, now that it's happened, like I said, I didn't hear the full. I got the little snippet and what I saw pop up on my phone or whatever.
What I heard today was that he removed himself from that conversation because he knew it was just a place he shouldn't have been in. So I don't know if it was that same day or it was the following day. I have no idea what the time frame is on that, but I did hear that today on MSNBC.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's probably some combination of, oh my God, I don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
I was trying to spy, or God forbid, find a reason to jail him or whatever.
Right.
That's a good point.
So
I guess speaking of jail,
oh God.
I just no, yeah, we're talking about judges that are trying to block his agenda or committing treason. I literally said that I said he's gonna say it's treason, it's going against a country, well, and then I sent you guys the other one where Mike Johnson says they're discussing eliminating some district court. Like, oh, now we're just gonna get rid of courts. Okay.
Right. Something about funding, like they were going to stop funding the courts.
Y'all go ahead, do with that information what you will. I just wanted to transition to the next thing.
I didn't hear that, but I'm just sitting there like trying to wrap my mind around that, just like getting rid of the courts. Like never in my lifetime did I think I'd ever be saying those words out loud.
But this would have to go through the Supreme Court, right? For them to do something like this.
Who knows? Maybe you just get rid of that one too. So yeah, you would think you would. I believe you are correct that anything judicial related would have to,
Should.
Yeah. Will they stop him? And then, I'm sorry, dude has no loyalty to anybody. So he uses them until they're no longer usable. We saw this in his first administration. So, yeah, the Supreme Court says, nah, dude, you're not doing that. Then they're committing treason too. What's going to stop him from doing that? He has no loyalty to these people. They were a means to an end. They gave him power. So, I don't know.
And then go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so speaking of not following like due process, do we want to use that as a jumping off point to go into the immigration?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I mean, for me personally, I think that's one of my biggest issues with what's going on right now. The narrative that's being pushed from the administration is that it's the worst of the worst. It's the criminals. It's the gang members. It's these individuals that pose big threats to our communities, right? That's what they're telling us. But And before I go any further, I just want to say, if that were the case, like if that were actually true, I don't think we would even be having this conversation.
Nope.
Because I may be going out on a limb here, but I think most Americans would probably agree that if someone's in the country illegally, didn't follow the correct processes, they've committed whatever crimes, yes, they should be removed.
Criminal crimes. Yeah.
Right. So I
Not
don't think
civil
that-
crimes. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
But
Yep.
the fact that what's being presented to us and shared on mainstream or legacy media is not factual. And we have innocent people like US citizens, legal residents, whether they have a green card, whether they
Boris!
a visa holder,
Boris! Yeah, like, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
but people who have like every right to be here, they're being racially profiled, they're being detained, and in some cases they're being deported to countries that they've never even been to. They've never lived there. They don't speak the language, and it's just this blatant disregard for legal status, for constitutional rights. The conditions that they're being put in and the inhumanity of it is a whole nother conversation. But I mean, for me, I'm just trying what they're telling us. And then like when I hear these first hand stories of what's actually happening, number one, it's heartbreaking, because just imagine for a second, like being born and being raised in the United States, living here for your entire life, literally never living anywhere else. And out of nowhere, you're essentially kidnapped, detained, labeled as illegal, and deported. Or even if you're not deported, because I mean, a lot of these people are contesting and filing lawsuits. And I know there was one, I'll have to pull it up, but there was actually one of the court cases, the judge actually ruled today that no, that person couldn't be detained. But it's just the whole representation of what they want us to believe and then what's actually happening are two different things. And people need to be aware of that it's not going down like they think it is.
I don't think it ever has. Yeah, I am third generation Hispanic, and I have some Native American. So this whole situation just upsets me. But it's okay to get rid of the cartel and all these big gangs that are from different countries, but to take people who pick the food in the fields to put on our tables, and then farmers, watching their crops rot, prices going up. I mean, it's just like a domino effect. It's horrible. But I can't help but say that it's a racial issue. It's a racist issue. And that's what I feel like. Like he wants to wipe out people of color. That's what I feel like. He wants to abolish people of color. And that's just my own personal opinion, because I am who I am. I am a brown person, and so when you look at it from like my perspective, that's what it feels like, like, go ahead.
And I think the majority of them are, people of color, whether it's, whether it's Indian, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Asian, just any people of color. Sorry, Corey, go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's not an opinion. I want you guys write this name down. She passed away, but look up Jane Elliott. She talked about, she was I know, just I've seen bits and pieces of her talking and stuff, and she would do like, I don't know what the profession or exact word is, but she did
sort of experiments or like social experiments where the brown-eyed people had to be in one place and blue-eyed people, and it essentially teaches you what it means to feel racism, kind of thing.
Yes, and
she's enlightening.
Yeah, she talked about the first clip I ever saw her. She talked about Ben Watlingberg, who was an advisor to Republican presidents, and he wrote a book literally about how we have to preserve the white majority, and the ways, and one of the main ways they had to do it was stopping white women from having abortions. because white women have the highest percentage of abortions because there's more of them. And so it's just, I didn't delve too deep, but no, I don't know, again, to what extent Trump is part of the overlaying Project 2025 theocracy agenda, but it's there. That this is all part of it. It's way bigger than Trump.
I think it's a combination between that, between the color and race, and also just a lot of these also seem to be politically motivated, because we're hearing a lot like of the college students, you know, that were maybe at pro-Palestinian protest on campus. Well, one of the examples that I had was the university, Columbia University student who was detained.
Yeah.
No, this was a
one?
female. This was a different one. But
There were two of them, I think.
yeah, I mean, they came to her parents' house, told her that her visa was revoked, and then her attorney's like, she doesn't need a visa, she has a green card, and they're just like, oh yeah, that's been revoked too. So she's been going through the whole legal system, and today she just got a ruling from a judge. But so my point is that it's not just color, but it's also just trying to shut up people that are speaking out with opinions that the administration doesn't like.
Against our godfather, Israel. Yeah. And one more thing I'll say, and I'll shut up for a minute. Lana, you mentioned, we're getting rid of them being gone with the farmers and stuff. There's, what was it, Florida? Y'all see they're talking about getting rid of of rolling back child labor laws to replace to put them to fill in the gaps from undocumented people being deported because they don't have anyone to work. And I made a joke in my video I just posted that they'll be able to because they're not going to be going to school now. I'm getting rid of the department. So
well, that's another thing too. I mean, there's kids that aren't even going to school because they're afraid that the schools are going to get raided. And at this point, the kids who are going to school are carrying all of their asylum papers in their backpacks. You know, that's the world we live in now.
Their mental asylum paperwork, right? It's a joke because Trump's always saying they're from mental. There was something I saw was like, I think he's confused between seeking asylum and mental asylum. So he saw they're seeking asylum and he associated with it, oh, they're coming from mental asylum. Yeah, it's just totally believable.
Incompetent. Yeah, so I don't know. That's a pretty heated discussion, I think. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable discussion.
We need to have.
Yeah, and it just, you know, there's so many issues about this topic. And I think that we've spoken about this. I think we spoke about this on Sunday, as a matter of fact, about even, you know, as a brown person, you experience these things in the workplace. So, and then, you know, Katrina, you had shared a story about, you know, some of the things that you had been through. And it was just, even now, like today, I was thinking about it, like, wow, I'm not crazy.
Not at all.
It's not only me. It really is a problem, you know?
Absolutely.
But the thing is, like I said already, you don't, and this is not to be mean or anything, but I just feel like you would not understand it unless you're brown. And that is just the bottom line. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just an ugly, ugly feeling of not belonging, and not being included just in a simple conversation, you know? And now it's getting worse. Like now, you know, we're not only targeting, like, you know, you go up in you climb the ladder in corporate America, and then you find yourself surrounded by white people. And that's a reality. That's a reality. When you're an educated brown person, the higher you go up in the ranks, the less you see of your own people. And that's a fact.
And it's still too much for them. We still got to deport brown people. Yeah.
Right. And of course, take away public education, let's just get rid of all that so they can never climb that ladder. There's a lot of
whole
issues.
point.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
There's actually another aspect of this as well that I've observed in my experience, but then I've never actually shared it with anyone. But I'm just thinking about it, Yolanda, as you're talking about this. If it's okay, would you all be open to hearing about this? This is something that I've observed. So one of the things that I've seen with people that may be of any different ethnic background, whatever it might be, the higher up that they go, the more they sort of get very reserved about their background, whatever that may be. And it's almost like this whitewashing happens where they don't talk about like this big part of their identity, which you can actually see visually, but it's like they pretend that it doesn't even exist because they want to fit in so badly. Like, and it's just, I can see how it would be a survival mechanism, but I've seen it where, even if someone were to bring up something that could be relevant to them, perhaps culturally or knowing a different language or a custom or like something related to whatever their ethnic background may be, it's like either they will deny it or they will diminish it and minimize it so much so because they just want to be like everybody else. And I've noticed this in a lot of people that I've encountered like that. And again, the higher up they go and the longer that they've been around, the more so it happens. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think I've seen that probably more so with women too.
Yes.
Yes. And I mean, it happens with both, but I think with women, yes, because they want to fit in, and women are socialized to be so agreeable and all the things that other people want them to be and how they need them to show up, and our organizational citizenship behaviors, right? Because if women don't do all those extra things, then it reflects poorly on them. But if a man does it, he gets recognized for doing all this extra stuff. But if women do it, oh, no big deal. They're just expected to do that. But if they don't, then it counts against them. But for men, it doesn't count against them, right? That's another aspect as well in the workforce.
And then Katrina, can you share a little bit about like your career and your education?
Sure. So my background is, my undergrad is in business and psychology, and then my master's is in organizational psychology. And then my work, it's crisscrossed both the public and the private sector across different industries, different organizations, and, gradually, of course, made my way into management in recent years. And it was very enlightening, to say the least.
Yeah. Yep. So, so it's a pretty, there's so many different ways to go in that conversation.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay. So we just got breaking news.
We did.
This. Yes, we did.
What happened? Oh God, I'm scared to ask.
Okay, you guys follow Aaron, right?
Yes,
of course.
Aaron Parnas. Oh, he's
Yeah, of course.
We love Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna play this all night.
He does a good job of not being partisan. He's just what's happening. Yeah.
Check this out.
We have major breaking news right now. Donald has signed an executive order comes over nation's voting system, essentially codifying the state acts before Congress was able to pass it. First, the executive order is document of citizenship. According to the Brennan Center for Justice, this could disenfranchise up to 9% of voters in America because they don't necessarily have readily access to proof of citizenship. In addition, there are now concerns that married women who have changed their name will encounter trouble with trying to register because their birth certificates list their maiden names. Now, before I continue, if TikTok is banned in a few days, I'll be on Substack, Instagram, and YouTube. They're all linked to my bio, so be sure to follow me there as well. In addition, the executive order ties the states that continue counting votes after Election Day. This is specifically targeting mail-in ballots. Right now, states accept mail-in ballots as long as they're accepted for return by election day, but they sometimes take longer to count. Well, he is now trying to penalize these states. This executive order will certainly be challenged by voting rights groups, likely almost immediately. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, link to my bio, and follow along for all these you need to know about. It is March 20th.
Holy shit.
I told people. No, I already knew about this.
Wow.
I already
I
knew
know.
about this.
I already heard that one. Yeah. It's I know.
Wow.
It's
And the
it's
state
infuriating.
That is
It's
just infuriating because how I understood that the SAVE Act was that if a woman is married and she changes her last name, when she goes to vote, if her ID and her birth certificate do not match, she
Correct.
cannot vote. Only her husband can vote.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep. Yep.
What the fuck?
I told people, yeah, the elections, AKA, we don't have elections anymore. That's, because it's not, there's more to it. I don't know. I haven't read too much, but he's overhauling. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
If you
So-
have a passport, I think the passport, like, is if you have a federally approved, and I don't remember what exactly is included in that list. I know a passport is one, but so
And
many
birth
people do not
certificate.
have. What's that,
Yeah.
Corey?
And birth certificate. That's it. Those are the only two. That,
But I'm saying, like, I could go in with just my passport and not have to show anything to match because a passport is like a federally accepted form, if I understand the SAVE Act correctly. So as long as I have my passport, I'm okay. But let's say I didn't have a passport, like a lot of people don't, and I go in with my driver's license. With my driver's license, I would also need a birth certificate or another form. And then if those didn't match, then I'm screwed.
and guess where you change that information? Social Security office. Guess what they're getting rid of? Social Security offices. So I told you it's all connected. It's all connected.
When is it going to stop?
It's
Like
not-
It's
how
not. It
how,
won't
d-
stop.
how does this happen? Like, can't Republicans get a spine? I mean, not only are we dealing with spineless Democrats, but also Republicans because they're so scared. They're not showing up to town hall meetings. People are creating them themselves.
You can't blame them. You
What-
can't
what are-
blame them.
They're just towing the party line, Yolanda.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear, but I don't understand why the Democrats aren't doing anything. It's
Because they're scared too. Because they've already threatened AOC. They threatened Crockett.
Is
It's-
it because we're minority?
No, because well,
No, it's because we're the lower class and they hate
because-
us. We're the
Yeah.
lower class. Anyone below them, they hate. It's not. They just use. Okay, I'm gonna go on a little spell. They just use the propaganda in order to like pit us against each other, right? They want to make it about a race thing with the immigrants, but they're just a convenient like scapegoat for all of our issues. That's one of the biggest things in propaganda is they give you somebody to be afraid of. They make it like
Hitler
they've got
did.
these. Yeah, they've got these ASMR videos. They've got like, people who they have already admitted were not part of this gang, in these videos where they're like got two people with their hands on their necks and they're bent over and like just totally inhuman. Okay. And it just fuels this, oh, they're taking care of the problem. Oh, we don't need to worry because they've created this fake fear and sort of instead of like solving any sort of issues.
Yeah. So Yolanda, you asked when does it stop? There is one way it stops, and that is we overthrow the government. That's the only way that it stops.
But that means
Or-
violence.
No, it's gonna be violent. Like there's no revolution in history has taken place. It doesn't like
That's what I
okay,
said.
y'all
Yeah.
go look up what's happening in Turkey right now. That's gonna be us in 2 years. Go look it up. The dude has been in power for 20 years. I mean, it was slowly moving that way. An opponent pops up. I'm gonna challenge you. All of a sudden, this opponent is found to have committed corruption things. He got thrown in jail. And now the people are protesting. They're arresting protesters. Musk is helping the Turkish the dictator. He's banning accounts of people in the opposition party on X. Yeah, I mean, go look up what's happening in Turkey. Like that's the only we're going there. We're heading in that direction. So
I want to add on to what Sean was saying about needing a scapegoat and needing somebody to hate. If there is anybody watching this video and you think that this is okay or you're not concerned about it because it doesn't apply to you,
Mhm.
They need someone to hate. They need that scapegoat. So when they get rid of all the brown people or enough of the brown people, they're going to come after somebody else, whether it's, RFK coming after, the autistic people or the ADHD people, whether it's women. They need somebody to hate, and eventually it will apply to you.
Exactly.
This is what fascism is.
Mhm.
There's a particular video that we put out, the US put out back during World War II and stuff. It's called Don't Be a Sucker. And it's a man who's saying, we don't like the black people. We don't like the Freemasons. We don't like whatever. And they're like, yes, of course, like get them out. And then he continues on until this man's name or his affiliation is listed. And he's like, wait, but that's me.
Mhm.
The guy next to him, who was part of who was Jewish, part of Nazi Germany, he's like, yes, it's always going to be somebody next. It's never going to stop at the people you think that they're like going after. It's always going to come to your doorstep. If you don't defend people who are not like you, it's going to come to you.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Well, I think
Yeah, on that note.
on that note, yeah, definitely. We're trying to take care of this time thing we got. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for your input. I think this was a great, short and sweet conversation. Good way to get it off our chest. And that's what we're here for. Just normal people doing real talk. And we're happy to be here, and we're happy that you joined us. So from all of us, have a great evening.
Thank you.
Like
Bye.
us.